So I'm kind of half philosopher, half cognitive scientist. One of the things I've been interested in is this, what looks like a very obvious question or easy question: where is my mind? Where is the stuff that makes you you? Where is the you, not you boundary to be found? And you might think it's kind of obvious. It's, you know, you're the brain central nervous system. I think we'll see good reason to think that's probably not the whole answer. You might think, let's get a bit bigger. Let's go to the whole biological organism. You know, I'm gesturing as I speak. I can count on my fingers. Maybe my mind, my cognition runs through the body in that way. Once you start to think that, then notice that your body is kind of 50% alien. Your gut microbiome is just not in your DNA lineage. So, you know, metabolically, we should take non-bio genetically used stuff seriously. So what about other kinds of alien stuff? So here's, you know, this is, I think, this is now we've got a fully fledged cognitive agent here. There's, you know, someone, and they're in some kind of loop with their personal, intimate technology, probably in this case an iPhone. So this is the view that I want to defend, that what we're seeing here is the whole of the mind, or at least most of it. I think this sort of view is going to become important in the near future, because, and this is sort of work that I've done over the last few years a little bit with Google, I think we're going to see whole ecologies of on-device personal AIs that are kind of like you and they're kind of not you. They're intimately part of you. You'll start to rely on the kind of stuff they do, much the way maybe you rely on the non-conscious subsystems of your brain. If they were to stop functioning, you'd just be that little bit not you. You wouldn't be getting the flow of ideas that you normally get. So you might think of that as the AIome, a little bit like the microbiome. So I think what's important here in part is let's not get hung up on wires and implants. It's not about that. It's about ecologies. I think it's ecologies that make you you. So why should we think this? A couple of quick argument forms. One is about access. If I said to you, do you know what month this is? Most of you will probably now be thinking October. But you weren't thinking that consciously before. So in some way, you're knowing that before I asked you the question is to do with what you can access reliably on demand. Similarly, anecdotally, I might say, do you know the time? Then you look at your watch. So you don't say, no, I don't. Hang on, while I access it. Then you look at your watch. Other cultures might say, do you have the time? And I think this sort of knowing, having ambiguity is actually revealing. In some sense, when knowledge is concerned, it's not really about location. It's about access and a couple of other things that this talk is too short to get on the table, about trust and reliability. So, another form of argument, even closer to my own heart, is stuff that looks at loops. For example, what I would do here if I wasn't encumbered with machinery would be gesturing a little bit more. And those gestures that you make as you deliver spontaneous speech are delicately time-locked and seem to be part of the actual thinking. If you impede these gestures, then as Susan Golden-Meadow has been showing in work over the last 10 or 15 years, you impede the thinking itself. Get children to sit on their hands and explain how they solved a puzzle, and they're a lot worse than if they can do this sort of stuff. Facial feedback theory, stuff that you might be aware of. In facial feedback theory, sort of loops through the bodily periphery seem to amplify emotional responses. Getting your face smiling amplifies your happiness to some degree. Interesting experiments here with Botox. Give people Botox, get them to read emotion-laden sentences. They're slower at reading and comprehending those sentences when they've got the Botox than you are without. Similarly, give someone something that loosens their face up, they're even faster, which is interesting. So there's a nice meta-analysis of this stuff. It's a delicate result. The effects are small but real. Bigger loops seem to matter too. Super closest to my own heart, loops through writing, if you're like solving mathematical problems and you're kind of using a notepad, or if you're an architect and you're using sketches. It's not like you're having the thought and then offloading it and then reloading it. The process of thinking, I want to say, is extended through the brain, body, and that bit of the material world. So this loopiness is really weird. We don't build AI systems that are loopy like that. We don't build rightly AI systems that print stuff out, have a look at it, and sort of engage in an ongoing interaction with it to try and solve a problem. But I think that's where biological intelligence lives. We're kind of intrinsically loopy creatures, and we should identify ourselves not with biological brains or even whole organisms, but with these loops that we somehow hold in place. So where is my mind? Moving rapidly onwards. Okay. I've been arguing about this stuff for quite some time now, along with another philosopher, David Chalmers, kind of on my side here. We're on each other's side. After about 10 years of doing this, I started to think there was nothing left at issue. It was just about where you coloured mind into the great tapestry of sort of complicated, wormy interactions with the world. So does it really matter whether, you know, the gesture is part of my mind, or it's only the brain and the gesture is a little extra thing that is nonetheless contributing helpfully? So you might think it's just semantic, but I don't anymore. I think it's more important than that. And this is the last thing that I want to get on the table. So this is Patrick Jones. Patrick Jones is a working Catholic deacon in Colorado Springs, and he suffered the kind of brain damage that you might have seen in the movie Memento. So he has that kind of amnesia, where if you came into the room, interacted with him, went out the room, came back, bio him, unaugmented him, would not remember what you talked about or what you decided to do. But in fact, he holds down his role as a Catholic deacon very fluently. He uses simple things like Evernote and kind of a smartphone, a little bit of face recognition technology, just the kind of loopy stuff that we can already do fairly easily. And I think, in a way, cognitively, he's a little bit like a prosthetically enabled athlete. This is Angel Guifria, archer, who you may have seen in a recent episode of Black Mirror. So I think what we should say about people like Patrick Jones and like Angel is that they are re-abled thanks to the tech. They're not a kind of not a compromised bio core with tech. They're an able system that includes the tech. That's the kind of extended mind take on these things. And that's, I think, why I think it's important. And of course, whatever goes for them has to go for us as well. So, you know, our tools and technologies are just as intimately part of us as their tools, technologies, and prosthetics are intimately part of them. I think we do ourselves and them severe injustices if we don't take this seriously. I think this is going to make a difference for law, for education, for social policy. Another place where we see this is in dementia patients when they're removed from their home environments and their competence plummets suddenly. Again, I think we should take seriously the idea that what you're doing here is it's damage to the person in a way. It's not just moving the person to a new place. It's a little bit like giving someone a little bit of brain damage during their sleep. So for all these reasons, I think it's not just a matter of words. It's not just a matter of coloring things in. Some people worry about this stuff. They think, okay, if you take the extended mind seriously, we just don't know where we stop and the world around us begins. Because, you know, these loops are all over the place. Some of them are stronger than others. Is there going to be some bloat or dissolution as we kind of lose track of where we stop and the rest of the world begins? I actually think that there's no harm in that, in a way. I think the thing to fear isn't the bloat, but the shrinkage. If we shrink ourselves down to just the sort of size of the biological agent, then we fail to do justice to Patrick Jones. We fail to do justice to ourselves. We fail to do justice to those dementia patients. And in the near future, we fail to do justice to the opportunities that new ways of technology provide. So that's the end of what I want to say here. The kind of thought is we should just love this. It's this ambiguity about where we stop and the rest of the world begins is actually a good thing for us and for the future of our species' self-image. Thank you.